I refuse to just exist. I'd rather shoot and miss. So I'ma raise my fist.
The first thing I really want to talk about is where I feel the industry is right now. And the industry is my baby. It's the only industry I've ever worked in. It's something I'm incredibly passionate about, and I'm sure everyone in the room, just by virtue of being here, shares that passion. But I think we've hit rock bottom, and that's my very humble opinion on it. And again, I welcome anyone to challenge me on it at the end. But I think we're at rock bottom. People are finding it hard to pay employees, and it's not because they're dishonest or they're not trying to pay employees. The money just isn't there. And I know people will be like, no, but if you're really creative and you know, if you work really hard, you can make the money. It's not necessarily the case all the time. We're at a crossroads, and our model is broken. And if we don't address what is wrong with our model, we'll continue to suffer. So I'm just gonna dial it back a bit though, and talk about day one. Now, if everybody recalls their first day doing what they're doing in this industry, when you finally got that offer letter and you walked into that door, maybe you were an intern or volunteered in an agency or wherever it is in the sector that you work. Day one, you were hungry. You wanted to make your mark. You wanted to prove that you had something to contribute to the industry. You came in with a sense of naivety, which is like really cool for me. Like, no one ever told you, you've never heard the word no, or you had never heard the word it's not possible, or you'd never heard the word we don't have the budget for it. You came in extremely hungry, and in a lot of senses, you came in very foolish. And the one thing that we all thought we could do at day one is we were in an industry that would feed us and feed us well for life. And the reality is, after a few years in the industry, you realize that that's not necessarily the case. Now, around the world, everybody dies to work in advertising. Like, advertising is the coolest industry to work in. There's very few rules, there's very little structure. You're allowed to express your creativity to its fullest. And in our context, everybody's looking to get out of an ad agency. It's like, okay, I need to leave now. And it's for me, there's like a disconnect. How come globally everybody's dying to get in, and in Botswana everybody's dying to get out? And I think a lot of it comes down to context. Now, we work or operate in a very, very unique context in Botswana. I don't think it's a context like any other in the world. And there's something there. There's something that's very special about the context we operate in. But unfortunately, I don't think there's too much of a culture around the context that we're in. There's a certain level of curiosity that's missing in our context. And you can't really curate a culture without a level of curiosity. Who's who in the zoo? What do the guys do? What is this guy about and that guy about? And we don't have enough of that in our context. So we sort of like stick to our own cliques and whatnot, and the culture won't evolve if we all sort of like closed off on our own, in our little zones, trying to do everything that we can to feed ourselves, but not really think about what it is that's going to create a culture that's vibrant, a culture that works for everybody. All you have to do is just drive a few Ks across the border, and advertising, media, landscape is completely different. And I think for us, it's something that we need to look at and say, guys, how do we curate a culture locally that supports the entire creative industry? And I'm not just talking about ad agencies, I'm just talking about the creative industry in general. How do we create a culture that empowers photographers and young models and so forth? The next thing I think is key is discipline. Now, if you recall day one when you first got in, you were hungry for knowledge. You were on all the creative blogs. You were on all the sites that you could get your hands on. You watched all the showreel you could watch all the canned case studies as you could. But then at some point, you stopped doing that. And I think a lot of it is just like, you heard no so many times, you were like, you know what, I can turn out the most mediocre piece of work. It will get approved. We will get that money into the bank. and it's cool. And that stunts our industry. Because if we accept mediocre work, or if we accept the fact that, we can get away with mediocre, then it is what it is. You will be surrounded by mediocrity. Next thing is value. All of us have a certain amount of pride, a certain amount of self-esteem, and I feel we need to start approaching our work, also approaching clients, with the mindset that we're actually worth more than what they dictate. A lot of times we bend and bend and bend until we fit into the client's budget. And what that happens, it dilutes your craft. So if we wanted to do a campaign and we went to a model agency, for example, and said, we'd like to hire some models. So we look through a catalog of models and we're like, this is the look, and we go to client and say it costs X. And the client says, you know what, guys, I don't have a budget. And all of us are guilty of this. What's the next thing we do? We say, okay, model agency, too bad for you. We call employees and say, employees, do you want to become the face of a multi-million pula campaign? And employees like, hell yeah. But employee doesn't get paid for it. Same thing with family members. I mean, we need to understand what the impact is for the rest of the industry. Like, if you can't allow someone who actually took the time and the care to try and build a career around modeling and give them the opportunities around modeling, and then you keep giving it to your auntie and your cousin and the cleaner at the office and not pay for it, you're destroying an entire part of our industry. If you want to do work that you value personally, that is valuable to the client, you need to understand your self-worth. And again, I say, don't confuse it with ego, but we need to start paying a bit more attention to self-worth. The model needs to evolve, and we need to start monetizing the biggest currency that we have, which is the ideas. No one can hand over heart say, I charge for my IP, I charge for my ideas. We give away the ideas for free. The only thing that is really worth anything on those accounts are the ideas. But we give all the ideas away for free. They pay, if you look at the rate card, they pay for an AE for labor, they pay for a designer for labor, but they don't pay for the ideas. Why are we giving away the most valuable product or the most valuable asset for agencies for absolutely nothing? We give it away for free.
I refuse to just exist. I'd rather shoot and miss. So I'ma raise my fist and live it limitless, limitless.